By now, most people have heard about Beyond Meat and Impossible Foods, startup food companies working to bring plant-based foods from the fringe of mainstream to create a more sustainable and healthier world. While these products are thriving in the marketplace, they are priced at a premium. Enter Christie Lagally, CEO and founder of Rebellyous Foods, a mechanical engineer who holds 5 patents. Lagally started the food technology and manufacturing company in an effort to end factory farming by creating delicious, widely available, and affordable plant-based chicken products. Stick around because you're in for quite an education and a treat as I talk with Christie Lagally, CEO and founder of Rebellyous Foods.
Welcome to the Vegan Visibility Podcast Show, where your host, Kathleen Gage, shines the spotlight on vegan and plant-based businesses and entrepreneurs from all walks of life committed to cruelty-free eating, healthy lifestyles, animal compassion, and the environment. Enjoy the show.
Well, Christie, I'm really interested to find out more about your company, Rebellyous Foods, because you have a really interesting mission and you have a great business model. And the mission is to actually reduce and eliminate animal agriculture, which right up my alley, that's in my lane. And that's why I wanted to bring you on the show. So why don't you start by telling us a little bit about your company, how it got started, and then why it's so compelling for you to keep moving forward in light of all that's going on in the world right now.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. So Rebellyous Foods is a food production and production technology company working to make plant-based meat available and affordable for everyone. And the way we do that is we run our own manufacturing and behind the scenes are designing new production methods and specifically new production equipment that allows us to make high quality plant-based meat at much lower cost than other companies. So we have this incredible competitive advantage to, in the very near future, be able to offer plant-based meat products at or near the price of chicken products that people are obviously eating that are made of chicken. So our goal at Rebellyous is really to break the cost curve on making plant-based meat, making high quality plant-based meat so that everyone can afford these products and everyone has access because we can make enough of it using the right equipment.
Well, that actually opens up an interesting conversation about what is plant-based meat, because we know right now KFC, they just put out their chicken whatever, and a lot of people are really opposed to that because of what KFC stands for and how many animals they've killed in the process, which your business model is completely different. Yours is do no harm to animals. So explain to everyone what plant-based meat actually means by your definition.
Yeah, so plant-based meat, or otherwise known technically in the food industry as meat analogs, which can be either plant-based or a wide variety of other products, are products that are made to look and taste like animal-based meat, but are made and sourced from ingredients that are, in this case, plant-based or sometimes fermentation-based. So the goal, of course, is to give people what they desire from meat or processed meat products like chicken nuggets, patties, and tenders without the bad stuff, without the slaughter, without the cholesterol, without the high saturated fat, without the antibiotic use in chicken raising. So all of these things are the benefits that you get from enjoying the same products, swapping them out for a plant-based product like Rebellious's, and then not necessarily having to change everything about your food operation. For example, your school lunch program, where they depend on chicken nuggets as an easy way to get kids to eat their meals.
Well, it's so interesting because there's different companies within the plant-based vegan realm in the niche that are focused on one type of product. For example, whether it be meat, whether it be fish, whether it be a type of beef that is all plant-based. And what made you pick chicken? What was it that drove you to pick chicken?
Yeah, so chicken is the largest segment of the US meat industry. It accounts for between 45 and 50% of production in the United States. Chicken also more recently became the largest consumed meat in the entire world after swine flu decimated the pig industry in China in 2019. So globally, we eat more chicken than any other type of meat in the world. Here in the United States, 52% of chicken is what's categorized as further processed chicken, including chicken nuggets, patties, and tenders. And as a result, we at Rebellious were going after products that were the largest segment of the largest sector of the meat industry. That's why we go after it.
Well, and it's so interesting because there's interesting discussions in the vegan community. And I want to let people know that you are vegan, because anybody who comes on this show must be void of animal and dairy products in their food consumption. And that was one of the first questions I asked. And you said, I think it's 27 years you've been vegan.
Yes,
it's like,
I definitely dated myself.
You qualify. But it's interesting because within the vegan community, there is a divide of those people who say you should never eat anything that remotely resembles meat. And then others who say anything moving in that direction is a good thing. But what I find interesting is with companies like yours, the customer base most likely is not vegan. I was talking with David Pinnell, who's out of the UK, and he's got the Vegan Business Tribe, he and Lisa Fox, and he does a lot of research on this. And he said only a small percentage of people that eat the plant-based meats are actually vegan. So you're actually addressing the whole challenge and problem that we have with animal consumption with a market that doesn't identify as vegan. Have you found that to be true with your market research?
Absolutely. The whole goal of what we're doing is we're trying to provide volume production and cost-effective production so that we can reach a much larger market than is typically identified as vegan or vegetarian. If we were to just stick to those people, they're already making a difference. We need to move the needle on everybody else. And that often means that we need to meet them where they're at. We need to provide them with the opportunity to keep similar products without the harm of industrial animal agriculture. But also it means that we're all after a bigger mission. We're either working on climate change or human health or animal welfare. And if we are to move the needle, we have to bring everybody into the idea that they can kind of have what they need without necessarily, sacrificing every moment of their lives or having to necessarily switch to full vegan in order to make a better choice in that meal today. Naturally, we would hope more and more people would choose a vegan diet for the benefit of their health, their planet, and the animals. But since that isn't happening necessarily today, we can find opportunities to go in incremental steps in that direction. And that, of course, is what Rebellious and many other plant-based meat companies are working to do for consumers.
I love it. I love it. And I want to remind people that you're listening to the Vegan Visibility Podcast Show. This is Kathleen Gage, and I'm talking with Christie Lagally, she is the founder of Rebellious Foods, based out of Seattle, Washington. So we're practically neighbors. I'm outside of Eugene, Oregon, and Great Pacific Northwest. Now, with your particular product, how does it compare as far as nutrition, because a lot of people assume that they have to have animal-based products like chicken, fish, meat to get the protein they need. And yet in many cases, they're not getting as much protein as they think they need. They don't need as much as they think they need. Plus they're getting the cholesterol, they're getting the antibiotics. And you so eloquently shared that about that. Chicken is filled with antibiotics. A lot of people don't know that 70 to 80% of our antibiotics go into animal production. And that's why we've become so antibiotic resistant, or at least meat eaters have. So how does the nutrition compare apples to apples with what people normally would consume, which is traditional chicken?
Yeah, so the great thing about plant-based products, particularly plant-based meat and soy and wheat and even pea protein products, and even the more unusual plant-based proteins that are coming on the market now, they have a wide variety of amino acids that easily meet the needs of humans to meet their protein consumption needs. So, for example, soy is a fantastic source of complete amino acids. Wheat is another really good source of amino acids. And by eating even a variety of plant-based proteins, you easily get the protein that you need as a consumer that you would otherwise maybe have chosen to eat as an animal. But the other thing is, a lot of people don't realize that we eat, sometimes on the order of 3 or 4 times as much chicken as we did in 1950. Now, our parents were not necessarily suffering from not having enough chicken in 1950, but we eat that much more of it now, and we don't necessarily need it. And we don't necessarily need it from animals. And so plant-based proteins offer us obviously the benefits of not only getting the protein we need, but getting it without the harms. Essentially, that's why we say at Rebellious, no harm, no foul, is because without the chicken, without the harm.
I love it.
Thanks. So the idea there is that we can have, we can have our cake and eat it too. We can enjoy chicken nuggets, patties, and tenders that are easy and convenient and soon to be very cost effective as a plant-based version without the cholesterol, without the high saturated fat, without the antibiotics, without the risk of slaughterhouse contamination, which of course is a huge issue. And all of those are benefits that the consumer will lean towards if we can really meet them where we're at in terms of cost and availability.
You brought something up about slaughterhouse contamination. And before we get into that, I want to remind people that you're listening to the Vegan Visibility podcast show. And Christie, how do people reach you? And first, tell us how they can reach you. And then I have a question about where your products are.
Yeah, so everybody can reach us by going to our website at rebellyous.com. It's REBELLYOUS, like belly.com. You can find where I use the store finder to find our products. You can also reach out to us through our website.
Excellent. And what stores are you in? I would assume quite a few in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, we have a lot in the Pacific Northwest. We're in 200 Safeways in the Seattle Puget Sound area. We're also located in Jewel Osco in Iowa, Indiana, and Illinois. We are in various different mom and pop grocery stores from the northern part of Washington to the southern part of California. And we're getting more and more stores every single day.
Well, you better speed things up. You're just going a little slow there. That's amazing. That's amazing. I always love hearing the success stories for those that are vegan, that have the vision, and they want to make the world a healthier and a better place by the products they bring to market. Now, with your product, do you sell direct to consumers, or is it direct to the merchants?
Yeah, so we don't sell directly consumers at the moment. We sell to distributors that go to retail outlets like Safeway. Okay. We also sell to food service outlets so that they serve them in their restaurants and cafeterias. And then we also sell products to the National School Lunch Program. So schools that are getting reimbursed by the US government for replacing chicken can use our chicken nugget product that is formulated specifically for school lunches so that they don't have to sell essentially commodity chicken products.
So I'm curious, where do you see that going within the school system? Because as we look at childhood disease and obesity, a lot of children now have what used to be confined to adult diseases, whether it be diabetes, high blood pressure, heart problems, obesity, all of that. It's epidemic without a doubt. And a lot of it has to do with the food consumption. And with a lot of children, and especially with the pandemic and all the shutdowns, where they get their meals is at school. So where do you see that going, and what's the state of affairs right now with school lunches and going from meat-based products, whether it be chicken, fish, beef, into the kind of products that you produce?
Yeah, so one of the worrisome things about the National School Lunch Program, it is often fed, not entirely, but often fed by essentially excess chicken that is sold to the US government to be processed at a low price and then sold into the National School Lunch Program or used for the National School Lunch Program. So, even if you would think of chicken as, even for those who may think of chicken as a viable source of protein, this is not exactly high quality chicken that is going into these products. That being said, offering them a solution is about providing them a cost-effective product, a high protein product, a product that meets the requirements of a meat alternative, because it has to be within the guidelines of the governmental program to get reimbursed for. And so our products meet those guidelines. And if they don't meet those guidelines, the schools can't use them. They can't get their money from the government to use those products. So it's very important that we apply, that we provide schools a product that can actually be used within the constructs of their policy to get reimbursement for the National School Lunch Program. But otherwise, students wouldn't have access to better for you foods. And in addressing things like childhood obesity, or even, early onset, health related, diet related diabetes, you really have a situation there where if you can give kids a better for you product, that's a lot better than providing them chicken nuggets.
Right.
I'm not going to claim it's better than eating apples and oranges. They should probably eat apples and oranges. But alongside those types of foods, definitely choosing the plant-based product over the animal meat product is going to make a big difference for kids.
Wonderful. And you had mentioned about slaughterhouse contamination, which, most of the pandemics that happen and the viruses that happen come directly from animals. And a lot of people want to deny that, but it is a fact. And we have a real issue with slaughterhouse contamination. Share with us what you can to actually make people aware of why eating meat that comes from slaughterhouses, that comes, people like to say processed meat. No. It's slaughtered meat. It's meat that's been contaminated. So let's, pull back the covers here. What do people need to know that might help them to make better, healthier choices for themselves and their children?
Yeah, so there's a multifaceted issues around industrial animal agriculture, from the growing of animals in intensified farms that, as you mentioned, can lead to the incubation of zoonotic diseases that eventually jump to humans, just like COVID-19, most likely did. But we know directly that this happens on a regular basis. In 2019, swine flu flew out of control and essentially had to decimate so many pigs. So having pigs or animals in close confines essentially is breeding ground for the evolution of very virulent viruses. But it doesn't stop there. Over the last couple of years, we have seen bird flu become more and more transmissible to humans, and actually different varieties of viruses of bird flu have become jumping to humans in some cases for the very first time. Some of them coming, because of interaction with wild birds, but it intensifies in chicken farming or turkey farming, where then you're coming into regular contact with these birds. You're having to load them, slaughter them, transport them. And if those birds are dying of bird flu, the chances of it getting to a human are high, and it's already happening. So there were 7 poultry workers in Russia that were reported to the World Health Organization as all contracting bird flu from a flock of birds there. We're now seeing bird flu pop up in a wide variety of places in China where birds are concentrated. So this is a really, really big risk. Even in the United States, just a few years ago in Tennessee, there was an outbreak of bird flu in a turkey farm, and every bird had to be killed for 50 miles. But we don't realize that, the reason that they're doing that is because of the risk that if it jumps to humans. In 2014, around 600 or 700 people globally were infected with bird flu, and over 60% of them died. So if you think about COVID-19, the death rate of COVID-19, I think it peaked at about 3%. It's kind of leveled off at 1 or 2 or even less with vaccines. That's where we see the risk, is that you don't get a second chance if you are dealing with a 60% mortality rate,
Right.
because you concentrated bird flu in your chicken process or your chicken facility. So we have so much reason to address industrial animal agriculture, particularly in this form, because we are putting ourselves in mortal danger as a result of incubating zoonotic diseases in industrial animal agriculture.
Absolutely. I call it standing at the edge of the cliff, and the cliff is very quickly being pulled away from us. Now, what do you think can be done? It's frustrating to me because the answer seems so simple. It is a simple answer, not necessarily easy, but a lot of people don't want the answer. They want to continue eating their meat-based products. They want to pretend like COVID's not going to impact them, or they're not going to get that next virus that jumps from animals to humans. And meat is subsidized by our government. I mean, that is a fact. If it wasn't subsidized, it would be outrageously expensive compared to what it is today. And yet companies like yours, you probably don't get subsidization. And so there's such an out of balance equation to continue supporting meat production by the government, and it leads into issues around healthcare. I mean, I have, all these thoughts around what we could do to minimize that. What are your thoughts as far as how people can educate themselves? Because a lot of it has to do with, many people say, I don't want to know, oh, if I find out I couldn't eat meat, it's like, great, that's the idea. But what do you think can be done? And what are you doing to educate people besides coming on podcasts and giving phenomenal content?
Well, thank you. I think the first thing we need to let people know is that there are options that are truly available and meet them where they're at. So one of the really difficult things about the meat replacement industry in whatever form or shape, whether that be cell-based meat or plant-based meat or whatever, is that there isn't enough of it. In the United States alone, we produce over 108 billion pounds of animal-based meat, and yet plant-based meat only clocks in at 0.5% of that volume. That means the vast majority of people don't have access to meat replacements, even if they would choose it. So it's basically like saying there's one meal per person per year of plant-based meat for every person in the United States. That's how little there is. And of course, we know that there are lots of people getting a hold of plant-based meat. Those are like the dedicated eaters. They're the occasional eater, but then they go back to eating a hamburger the rest of the time because there wasn't an Impossible Burger that time, at the next diner that they went to on their truck route between here and Iowa. So it's kind of like, we have to understand that people are trying to do their other jobs in life, and we need to meet them where they're at in the food industry. And so that's really what we're trying to solve here at Rebellyous, is that the idea that if we're not making enough of it, there's a reason we're not making enough of it. There's an intensive reason. And as a manufacturing technology company, we are addressing that fundamental gap in volume and the fundamental difference in price by designing new production equipment and automated production systems that will then break the cost curve and make plant-based meat in much higher volumes than has previously happened. That's when we start to see a true shifting of consumers, not just to being able to like or enjoy plant-based meat, but being able to depend on it. And that's where consumers aren't quite yet. They want the product. They want to address climate change. They want to address human health. They want the Impossible Burger, Beyond Burger, the Rebellyous Nugget. But what they're not seeing is it at their fingertips. And that's where once we all know what it's like recently to go to the grocery store and not have the products we depend on because of supply chain shortages. That's what, dedicated consumers who may not be, dedicated vegans are feeling every single day. And so that's the market we're trying to address, is making sure that we convert this industry from that 0.5% to soon to be 1%, 5%, 10% of the meat industry. And that's when we really start to move the needle on effectiveness for all the climate change, human health, and animal welfare reasons that we would want to replace meat.
Wonderful, wonderful. And what is your vision for your business over the next year to 5 years? Where do you see your role in all of this being?
Yeah, so the goal of Rebellyous Foods is to not just deploy our own technology to support, the products that we make today and bring that cost down and make those more effective, but then to take it to the next level and start another facility where we can scale our equipment and then not just benefit from the new production system that it can make plant-based meat faster, better, and cheaper, but to scale the right production system so that we can truly undercut chicken products. And that is ultimately our goal, is that over the next 3 or 4 years, or maybe less, we definitely want to see a way forward to get to that new facility. And there's a lot of different opportunities there. We can collaborate with other companies, we can sell our equipment, we can collaborate with other food producers and set up our own facility. But fundamentally, we have to be able to scale technology, which is exactly what we're doing now, and show that we can truly break that cost curve on making plant-based meat.
I love it. I love it. And second to the last question, what is your favorite marketing strategy to get the word out about your company and plant-based meats?
Yes. Well, because it's the age of COVID, probably my favorite has been where consumers get our products either from the store or maybe we ship it to them, and they try the products and we just take videos and then see how they like it. And then we turn them into fun little videos on YouTube. So if you go to the Rebellyous YouTube channel, you can find, 25 videos of people trying the products from all walks of life, from chefs to school teachers to, all sorts of personalities to kids. It's a ton of fun. And so we love to make these videos. So if people want to send us some of their own, they're more than welcome to do so.
Outstanding. We'll make sure to put the link to your YouTube channel and your website in the show notes. And the final question is, what can you advise to people who really want to move into a healthier, more sustainable way of eating and living? What are some easy steps they can take?
Yeah, the first thing I can say is start with the easy stuff and just keep adding to it. So for example, when I went vegan, it was about, starting with stuff that I knew I would enjoy no matter what. I love peanut butter and jelly. I still do. And it was already vegan, but I also loved, hot chocolate. And I was like, how will that ever be vegan? But it turns out it was pretty easy in the end. I just had to figure out, I had to learn about rice milk, which is all we had at the time. And soy milk, we also had soy milk. And I just had to do one step at a time. And I think that's where, if you're just taking one meal at a time, being like, okay, what would be the vegan version of this? Or what could I eat that I absolutely love? And it's already vegan. That's a good way of going and incorporating more plant-based foods in your diet, and realizing that, having traditional products actually doesn't change your experience, or replacing those traditional products doesn't change your experience that much. I still love hot chocolate, and I love it with rice milk. I love it with soy milk. I love it with Oatly. I still love it.
Well, buy that Oatly. We have stock in Oatly, so there you go. And well, Christie, this has been delightful. And I want to remind people, you've been listening to the Vegan Visibility Show. I've been talking with Christie Lagally, and she is the founder of Rebellyous Foods. And we'll make sure to put all your links down below. I encourage you to check out her website, check out her YouTube channel. And Christie, thank you so much for all you're doing for people's health, for the environment, and most of all, for the animals. This is Kathleen Gage with Vegan Visibility, encouraging you, go out, make a difference by what you put at the end of your fork. Have a great day, a great evening, a great middle of the night.
You've been listening to the Vegan Visibility Podcast Show. Be sure to subscribe to get notified when the next episode is live. And we always appreciate reviews. Join us next time for more inspiration, education, and motivation to build your business one cruelty-free and healthy person at a time.